long before Christ was born. Because Rome was fascinated with Greek culture. It was seen like as high culture. They had philosophy. They had theater. They had, I mean, I don't know if, I'm sure a lot of people would know this, that I was mentioning Socrates a lot yesterday. There's a play we enjoy in Yoruba language, or in Nigeria, because it was written by a Yoruba man, though. The Gods Are Not to Blame, by Olarotimi. The truth of the matter is that that play was an adaptation of a Greek tragedy that was written by Sophocles. Sophocles was a Greek philosopher who wrote a play titled Oedipus Rex. I know this because as a young chap, when I first had that book, this was a long time ago, for some reason, when I get a book, I always read the front cover, the back cover, before I now read the stuff. So I read the front cover, I saw the title, the back cover. One of the things they wrote in that book, I still remember the back now, 3 Crown Publishers underneath. They wrote there that Olarotimi, something along the lines of, he successfully transplanted Oedipus Rex into African or Yoruba soil. So they saw them as, you know, it was Greek philosophy, it was Socrates, it was Plato, Aristotle, Sophocles, all these people. So that culture, the Romans, even when they were conquering the world, they took Greek culture with them. That's why, you know, you hear that the New Testament was written in Aramaic and Greek, mostly in Greek. This was because they were all under the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was spread in Greek language. But they also had Latin, right? And the church used Latin. I mean, of course, these are different timelines, but so I'm talking about centuries apart. I'm cut it short. The point I'm trying to make is that by the time the English got this tube that could show images and picture, they fell back to the Greek and Latin in order to create a word for what they had, but it was theirs. When we saw a TV, we called it a Arabo Moron. When we saw computer, we say a Rayarabiasha. It was fast. You type something. Why? Because we're using typewriter. You use typewriter, then you have to. This one you can just write it on the post or the print here. Because when we started using computers, there was no internet. When internet came, we called it a Ayelujara web. Olujara one. Would that be a beti lokara bi ajere? So Yoruba people have an ajere in our own frame of reference, and we could compare the internet to, or the World Wide Web to ajere. So eroye ayelujara olujara one. The point I'm trying to make is that even when the words did not exist, we created it, and that's what you find in many advanced cultures. Either you borrow to add, or you borrow when you have none, or you create from using your own language. And like I said, English also does the same thing. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's any language in this word. I'm going to use the word steal in quotes that steals words from other languages like English language. I don't think there's anyone. I think English probably steals more than any other language, because you go there, you see Latin, you see Greek. Most of your words, psychology, all those words are Greek. Biology, psychology, sociology, these are Greek words. You see German, you see Latin, you see French, you see Arabic, you see Persian language. All of that to say this, that there are people who are losing their own words. And what they did when they came in contact with Oyinbo was to, I don't want to mention any ethnicity because I don't want it to look like I'm insulting, but it was actually how she taught us. One of the reasons she taught us some words that I say remember today, because those words were going into extinction in our language. And every time I meet people from that particular part of the country, I always do to them what she taught us. I will say, what's this thing in your language? And most of them don't know, because those things don't exist, in their own frame of reference anymore. What I'm saying basically is this: if folks who have lost their words, or they have lost words in their language, in that particular language, and their own language also being threatened by extinction, if they are telling you to stop speaking Yoruba language, it is called Dabi Motida. It's not based on unity. It's based on trauma bonding. In other words, I'm losing something, you lose your own something. Let us work together. No. I don't want to work together that way. I'm going to keep what I have. If you like, lose what you have. Maybe that's what your own calling is. I'll keep what I have in my own space. You learn it, right? And this is why I always say that when we want to compare ourselves, let's be comparing ourselves with people that matter. Okay, I love reading about English history and all those folks, Europe, China, German. It helps you to understand that. Okay, I know, Kere no aye, as Yoruba people, I know Kere. All right. ABQ says most languages have lost plenty of their words, especially in northern Nigeria. Really? Yeah. Northern Nigeria is actually okay. I get what you are saying. Now that I think about it, one of the reasons they lost their words, and some of them, their languages are being threatened by extinction, it's actually because of Hausa. And it's not like Hausa forced themselves, so it became the lingua franca, so people just speak that language. So naturally, what this copy say, we also borrowed from Arabic. Yes, I mentioned that earlier. I mentioned alubosa. So in Yoruba language, Wednesday is Ojoru, but because of our relationship with Islam and Arabic words, we also call it Alaruba. Thursday is Ojobo. We also call it Alamisi. Friday is Eti, Ojo Eti. We also call it Jima. And the Jima is from the fact that Oman Kojokol, or the Jama, or Jumat, the Jumat service, or I want Jama. Okay, no Jima. Me, I shall like our people, shall. I really, really am proud to be Yoruba. Someone says, work like Alubasa. Yes. And one of the things you also notice about life is this: if you borrow words and you can't say you borrowed it, you're also from a very retarded culture. I don't know, some people in this country, they cannot acknowledge the fact that some things they did not have. What you have, they say is their own. Adura, yes, Adura is Iparoje Adura. It's the same thing. Adwa is also Adura. But Yoruba, another word for it is Iwuri. Anfani, thank you, Lola. Oh, good. It's been a while, thank you. But that's a very good example to Anfani, Alubarika, Alafia. These are Arabic words. Every evolved civilization would acknowledge where they got things from. They don't go around saying, we came from heaven with all these words. They learned nothing from anybody that talks like that is from a very, very inferior culture. If you talk like that, that's your business. If you're angry, that's also your business. May God have mercy on your soul. Grow up. The world has moved on from... The world has gone past times of fighting. So drop your guns and your swords, and let us live all as one. Who knows that song? We all need love and understanding. So drop your guns and your swords, and let us live all as one. Yeah. I'll be waiting. Yes, that's Asha. Okay, let us read book now. We have tried with our news gone. To be fair, I think the rainfall actually got a bit distracted. Thank you, everybody celebrating Asha in the comment section. That's one of the finest singers, one of the most brilliant singers in the world. Yes, I said it. In the world. Yes. Asha Bukola. Is it Lemide? Brilliant. And our songs are evergreen. Like you could listen to 360 that just sang, or Fire on the Mountain, or Jailer, or anyone, and just feels new. She's good. Very good. And she's doing well. Speaking the same Yoruba language, by the way, just to be clear. She speaks English too. Agbóyìnbó náà. Agbóyìnbó. Waidi, God bless you, Lola. I told you, we will like vowels for some interesting reasons. If you just say, so just help you add some vowels. Anything you say in Yoruba land, they'll add vowels. Just to give it more. Waid will be Waidi. Rauf will be Raufu. Why would you end the word with consonants in Yoruba language? There are words that end with consonants, but one okbo. Wow, but one okbo. One okbo. Even towns. Have you noticed? Our words, especially nouns, rarely end with consonants. Yes, Akimu. Imagine someone from Saudi Arabia is around. I just shout Akim. You know, we don't know that it's the same Akim. Yoruba. Every people, wherever you. Sorry, I just got a message. Someone says, Asha, great artists, they play our music in many supermarkets in the USA. Yeah. We're proud of her. We'll be proud of you too. Everybody here will be proud of you too. Whether, no matter how big or small where your work is, your work will matter. Omolomo says, my children are coming to Yoruba land in summer. Excuse me. It says, my children are coming to Yoruba land in the summer. I've been instilling Yoruba into them since day zero. Well done. Well done. Alamu Koroi. What word is that? I don't know that one. No. Alamo Koroi. No, I don't think that one is. No, that's not foreign. That's local. Seria. We borrowed that one. We borrowed that one from Sharia. What does Seria for? That's from Sharia. Alumokoroi, I think it's Yoruba. I think it's indigenous. I don't think that one is borrowed. Alumokoroi. Someone says, Baba, share they read old books as well. This book is old too now. It's our Lord's book. It's also old. We're going to read it now. Don't worry, don't mind me. I'm trying to gather my thoughts because of the old, up and down we had. Yeah, so Seria, we got Seria from, someone says Alebu is Arabic. Really? That's nice. See? I think the point is just that we also have to remember that those words should be addition, especially if we have such words in our own language. Ashiri, yes. Aniyan, yes. Wakati, yes. Dunya, yes. Dunya is not even so Arabic as it is Sanskrit. I think it's actually from India. It's Hindu. But they also borrowed it in. So Arabic also borrowed words from Persia, from India. Like I mentioned, cash was introduced by the Arabic, but the Arabic borrowed it from Persia. Orange, lemon, lime, they also borrowed it. Sugar, they also borrowed sugar from Persia. A lot of words, I can't remember everything. I think Q as well. A lot of words, they also borrowed. Some of the words that you call Arabic today were also Persian origin, not Farsi, the old Persian. Not borrow. I think the important thing is just to make sure that, let's say the word, if you have a local, what's the word? Like a synonym, don't lose that one. Right? Don't lose it. But the truth of the matter is this: Adura today is a Yoruba word, just as lemon is an English word. Do you get the point? So Adura is not, we can say etymologically, it's from here, it means this, and the origin is here, but now is a Yoruba word. You get what I'm saying? The same way you can say orange is English, but in reality, you have to go all the way to Arabic and then to Persia. You can't say psychology because it's logos is logic. That's Greek. Okay, so if you break the words down, it's Greek at the end of the day, but it's English language today. So the point is that we also have to be very careful when people say things like, "Oh, that word is not our word. We should throw it away. Let's go for the original one." There's nothing like that. The original one that you're talking about could have been coined by some people. That's why you can break some words down. Okay. The important thing is not that you should throw it away, though. Own the one that's older and add a new one to it. Then your language becomes richer. Basically, that's how language is great. That's why we have synonyms and stuff. I never thought about it. How do you have names for flowers in English language? Think about it. Different flowers have different names. Some of those names are not even English. Because some of those things were also not native in some cases to the land. Koboko says, how did we get name for tiger in Yoruba? We didn't. There's no word for tiger in Yoruba land. Because we don't have tiger in Yoruba land. Someone says tiger is Ekun. Tiger is not Ekun. Tiger is not Ekun. Leopard is Ekun. Kiniu is lion. Ekun is leopard. Amotekun is cheetah. We don't have tiger in Yoruba land, so we don't have a word for it. Somebody says tiger. Yes, we can call it that. We can call it the way we will say bilikisu. So we say tiger. But we don't have tiger in our wild. It's not indigenous to our space. So we've answered that question. Any more? What's lion? Kiniu. Kiniu. Lion is Kiniu. Leopard is Ekun. Cheetah is Amotekun. Panther is anybody in the comment section. Ekwabila, no. Panther. Jaguar is not a Yoruba word. Thank you, Baramidele. It's Akata. And that's why, sometimes you have conversations with Black Americans. And they say, you guys used to call us Akata, you ate us. You remember this song? There's a song. Who knows this song? Oyinbo gbajo mi o, Akata gbajo. Oyinbo gbajo mi o, Akata gbajo. Who sang that song? We are gisting. You said you want to gist. Yeah, we are gisting. Akata, in that sense, they're referring to black. And I've said this is my theory of what happened. There was a time that the Black Panthers was a major movement. Yeah, was it Collington or Barrister? I think it was Collington. Oyinbo gbajo mi o, Akata gbajo. Àbí ṣé Barrister ni? Economy méjì ṣá. Akata Onjo. So Black Panther was a major movement in the United States, and the funny thing, if you look back, our artists, unlike now, and it's a shame, our artists, especially musicians, were very, very aware of, they were very conscious of world events, and it always featured in their songs. Right? Growing up, there's a song, ènìyàn dúdú ní South Africa, ènìyàn dúdú ní àgbáyé o, gbé wọn níjà, that's Báyọ̀ Adégbóyèga. Gbé wọn níjà, wọ́n ní ìgbàgbọ́ nínú rẹ̀. He was singing about South Africa. They usually find a way to bring in different, whether they travel there or happenings abroad, but we were just dancing now. Anyway, the point is, the Black Panther movement was very big in the 1960s in the United States, right? And Black Power and everything. And Yoruba word for panther is Akata. So naturally, you call him Akata. It's not that the people are animals, it's that they had a movement that was Black Panther. And so Akata. So it's not a derogatory. I mean, some people could maybe use it as a derogatory kini, but that's not the intention. Because when we're growing up, you hear things like Oyinbo Gbajo mi or Akata Gbajo, like the white man, dance to my music. Black Americans also dance to my music. That's what. Someone say Akata is not a slur. It's not. I mean, it could be. I mean, words are dynamic too. People can use something as they can turn it like it's like aboki. Aboki is not an insult, but it's also an insult. Aboki means friend. But aboki could also mean something else if you get what I'm saying. So it's possible that some people use Akata as slur, and I think some people actually do. But in reality, it's not what it is. And so here's what happens. The Hausa person who knows that you're on the same page, if you call him aboki, he doesn't mind. There are people that call aboki, say abokina, but there's a way you say aboki, I bet you like bumini. But generally speaking, Akata, growing up, Akata was, when I knew that Akata was a slur, it's up to 10 years. I didn't know it was a slur. I didn't live amongst them, so maybe that's why. But I never, because we grew up hearing it and we knew what it meant. We knew it meant for us, it's just like a people, not like a boo. But people can also be funny with things. So it's possible that some people have used it and turned it into something else. That's possible. That one is definitely a slur. What you just wrote there is definitely a slur. I don't want to even read it out. But it's a slur. Ades. Ajereke is a slur. I won't tell you the people he's talking about. That goes back to, I said 5 minutes. I think we're good now. So now that we've just said enough, let's go back to the book. People just writing lyrics for us in this place. Thank you. Thank you. Ireke is not a slur, yes. Ajereke is yes. Is tiger Ogidon? No. Lion is Ogidon. Male lion is Ogidon. We don't have any word for tiger in Yoruba because we don't have tigers around. So Ogidon is what you call, Kinu is Kinu. So again, it's synonyms. So Kinu is Kinu, but Ogidon is what you call male lion. And I know this because of something my dad used to say back in the day. Someone says, is it not Kinu? And like I said, it's synonyms. So you could have two words for the same thing. So it's Kinu. All lions are Kinu. Male lions are Kinu, and also Ogidon. Also, Yoruba is top notch. Yes, it is. Let me look for YouTube people. I want to include them in this our gist. Yomai says gist galore preferably. Then he says Ekwabila can be used to connote tiger. I mean, we can create words for it. It's not impossible. Because it has lines on its body, so Ekwabila. It's possible. I mean, we can call it that. But I think, growing up, some of the time we just hear Eko means tiger, Kinu means lion, But if you say Ekwabila is tiger, it's also good. Woodpecker. Abi? Kini woodpecker can Yoruba? I think it's a woko. It's not a wolo. Okay, that must be a typo. It's a woko. We have things, so we have words, and our fathers were smart. Our mothers were smart. They also had words for, I mean, we have words for things. We know that birds have different names. Otoni Baka, Otola Awoko, Otolo Wiwi, and owl is Owiwi. You know, so we have, if you, I think this guy also, I don't know if he does it. I know he talks about animals, but I don't know if he mentions animals in Yoruba. That's original. I don't know if he calls them by Yoruba name. What's Edu? Edu is monkey now. It's a species of monkey. Odere. Odere is a species of bird. Asha is hawk. Asha is hawk. Eagle is no, is Idi. 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 So thank you very much, just in the comment section. And yes, you're correct. It's Akoko. Akoko ni woodpecker, not Awoko. I mixed it up there. So yes, you're right. I see some people in comment section. Ose Global, Shambako, Obankwa, Great Army. Yes, Akoko Fenusogi. It's Akoko. Kini Ojora Awoko at Akoko Jobo. Kishen Konkono. Akoko ni woodpecker. Thank you very much for. Someone says hawk is Asha. Yes, hawk is Asha. I think the person also asking about eagle. All right, I'd like to bring some people up. We just listened to the video why Yoruba people speaking Yoruba is triggering people. Interestingly, while we were having that conversation, you know, I just saw comment by a friend on Facebook. It's actually, so it's bittersweet. It's, but mostly bitter. Bitter because when your man, so you know, it's good to hear from your friends, but it's amazing how folks from particular regions sound alike regardless of, you know, education, regardless of, you know, exposure and stuff. So this person, we went to school together, and I think the person felt like, you know, since we're all, you know, the same, and we're all Christians and we're all educated, we're not supposed to speak like this. I'll read the person's comment, then I'm going to read my own response. The person says, by the way, this is a friend. I mean, I could call her a friend. We have not spoken in decades, but we went to school together. Pusui, I'm genuinely shocked and disappointed. You should know better because your analysis is way off the point. Somehow you just managed to miss the point. The behavior the speaker described is something I experienced even in OAU, our alma mater. I had the women in faculty offices speaking to me in Yoruba, and when I stated politely that I did not understand, they carried on irrespective, in some cases turning the conversation derogatory about me. I was born in Lagos and understood enough to know, but couldn't speak. If you were in that situation, would you feel triggered? The mindset you espouse is archaic and does not align with the expectations of modern, decent society. What is the point of communication if the person on the other side cannot understand you? Also, land of scarcity indeed. There's a reason the Nigerian Civil War is not taught in Nigerian schools, but you should probably do your research if you're going to veer off point and speak of things you know little about. You're a learned person, so there's no excuse for this level of undisguised bias, and I dare say bigotry. Or is English not the official language of Nigeria anymore? Now I'm looking for my response. I can't find it. I responded to this girl. Where's my response? I must find it. I can't find my response. So Jesus. I mean, to be honest, I don't know what happened just now. Kilo Shele, I need to read my response. So. But while I'm looking for it, let me say this, right? That when people tell you about their experiences and how stuff happened to them, of course, it makes you feel bad for them. But here's the problem. I can talk about your particular issue, right, and even feel bad about you having to go through that, and like those who spoke Yoruba to you, since that you don't understand, they should have stopped to explain to you. However, I think it's also important to state something. So I can't find that stuff, but okay, I found it. I've not clicked on send yet, so I've not clicked send. So let me just read to you. I said, Amaka, I am neither shocked nor disappointed by your comment. And I'll leave the part where I said that, I feel bad. It's bad that that the people who spoke to you, you know what, I'm going to have to find, give me a second. Because okay. Amaka, I'm neither shocked nor disappointed by your comment. I empathize with you having to go through that situation where you didn't understand what you were being told and they didn't try to break it down to you in English language. However, you claim that wanting to speak one's native language on one's own land is a cake. What does that say about you, especially since that standard isn't applied uniformly across Nigeria? I suggest you maintain that same energy when you visit Sokoto or Anambra. Eventually, people like you must realize that Nigeria is not a single nation, but a country of many nations. Each nation has the right to conduct itself as it sees fit within its own enclave. No one is going to shrink themselves just to make you feel comfortable. We speak English, but we choose when and where to do so. We will not be dictated to by those throwing tantrums because they refuse to assimilate. If you have lived in Lagos for over 4 decades and still cannot speak Yoruba, who is to blame for that? Furthermore, the scarcity in the Southeast had little to do with the Civil War. There's a reason many Igbo leaders were born outside Igbo land. Nnamdi Azikiwe and Chukwuemeka Ojukwu, for instance, were born long before the war. I advise you to study the reasons behind their parents' migrations. Start with Igbo 25 years after the war by Igbokwe and ethnic politics in Nigeria by Okudiba and Noli. To understand the specific nature of the scarcity during the war, John St. George's The Nigerian Civil War is essential reading. As for bias or bigotry, if you choose the path of entitlement in a land where you should show gratitude, that is on you, not on those who expect respect from their guests. English is the official language of Nigeria. Yet I didn't make a nuisance of myself when people spoke Igbo to me in Onitsha or Hausa in Kaduna. Learn to assimilate. Demanding that landowners abandon their culture to prove they aren't detribalized is quite frankly primitive. That was my response to my friend, and I hope we have not spoken in decades, so I hope it won't cost more decades before we speak again. But I think it's important to put these things out there. It's not based on hate. It's just you can't really live like an entitled clown in Nigeria, where you go everywhere demanding how people of the land should do things in order to make you feel good. Like, nobody cares that much. People care enough to pause, and like I acknowledged, if a person speaks to you in a language that you don't understand, you tell them you don't understand the language. Of course, it makes sense for the person to pause and explain to you. That's only fair, right? So people can also go overboard. However, this constant, bickering and just complaining and just throwing tantrums all over the place, telling people what language they should speak in their land, it's nonsense. If you have a problem with people speaking language, go back to your own home and speak the language. In fact, speak English where you're coming from. And that should not be too much to ask. So it's a two-way thing. While I understand that, if you don't understand Yoruba and I'm speaking Yoruba to you, I went to Ife. We went to Ife together. The truth is, in our school, if you go to those faculties or Senate building, the women there will speak Yoruba no matter who you are. You have to explain to them that you're not Yoruba, and then they will change. They will switch. In my own experience of those who have been there in my presence who said, "Oh, I don't understand what you're saying, ma," they will switch. But the default setting is to speak Yoruba, and I love it. Apparently, after all, the school's motto is for learning and culture. So, in Ife, the women speak Yoruba, because if you go to a school in Germany, they will speak German. Forget all this. We all understand English language. They will speak the language. It's on you to learn. Now, if you don't understand and you're just coming to school, I think it's also okay for those people to also explain to you and find a way to, tell you what you want to tell in English language to communicate with you. But you can't be flexing with, this person we're around the same age. You can't be living in Lagos over 4 decades and you can't speak Yoruba language. Whose fault is that? Meanwhile, you can speak your native language, and you know what? It's not by force to speak Yoruba, but you can now say after living here for more than 40 years, you walk the street and people are speaking Yoruba and are saying that I don't understand. Why can't you speak the one I understand? No. In fact, because you are even stayed that long, they should be disciplining you by never speaking English to you, but just speaking Yoruba. Maybe by the time they finish speaking, your brain will recalibrate. We've got to be very balanced about these things. And it's quite funny that you can't have a conversation without people just jumping to bias, tribalism, bigotry. It's just stupid. It's a very shallow way of having conversations. Respect people in their land. If I go to your land, I will explain to you that I don't understand what you're saying. Hopefully you say it to me in English. But I don't have a right to demand that there's a way you should speak to people from a place in your land. Like, the land was not made for people from your place in the first instance. And if you don't want to learn how to speak the language, go back home. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. I'm going to hit send now, but I think I need to edit some of my punctuations before I send it to Amaka, my friend. All right. I'll bring some people up, and Tidan says beautiful response. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Lola wants to come up today. This is beautiful. Oh, where's Lola? All right, we're going to wait for Lola. Well, let's have Folarich. Good evening, Folarich.
Good evening, sir.
There's a lot of noise. Evening, sir. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Yes. I just want to say thank you very much for this your program. First of all, it's giving me a pride in who I am. I'm Yoruba, born in Lagos, and I lived in certain areas that they always talk about being detribalized. But I think in my formative years as a teenager, I got to reading some books, some of Baba's book. I read you understand, I read a whole lot about the Nigerian Civil War to make me understand certain things. But what you had helped me do, essentially, is to understand that loving yourself does not mean you hate others. And that is how I found the core of what Papa was always trying to preach. That, see, I'm not saying you should not prosper, but let me love myself and let me love my own first. And the bitter truth is that these people, if they had these opportunities, they would do the same. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. Secondly, I want to talk about these people talking about the language thing. Now, last week, I happened to be in, this time last week, I was in Kano, and we needed to go somewhere in Zamfara, and we had to go through Zaria. So I was in a vehicle with some colleagues, 4 of them, and they were all speaking Hausa language. Obviously, because they were all Hausa, number one, I didn't feel uncomfortable. However, having served in the north, it's not like I speak the language. I had to rewind myself back, at least to be able to pick some phrases, because the onus is not on them to speak English to me. The onus is on me to be able to understand the environment I'm in. We are in Kano for crying out loud. They will speak the language. And by the grace of God, I happen to also have lived in Asaba and always went to Onitsha, always went to Enugu. By my look, my default look does not, because they always tell me that you don't even look like a Yoruba person, that I look like someone from the southern part of Nigeria. Anyhow, I have come to understand that if you are in people's spaces, the onus is on you to try to understand what they are saying before for you to communicate. It is balderdash for someone to say they had lived in Lagos for over 40 years and not speak the language. Secondly, I remembered one of these actresses that came and said she lived on Shehu Musa Yaradua Street. And I'm looking at her that your father is not richer than Ojuku's father. And Ojuku spoke excellent Yoruba. He stayed on Ikoyi, went to Oxford. You didn't go to Oxford. And they say it as a bragging right that I lived in Lagos for all these years and I can't speak Yoruba, as if it's something to be like as though it's a touch thing. And unfortunately, these same people that claim these things, if they stay in Kaduna, Yola, Kebbi, Guzo, they would speak Hausa language fluently because they knew that it was for survival. But because we are not harsh on you, you take these things for granted and you go to the extent of telling us how and when we should speak our language. The fact is this: I happened to do a master's, a short master's. I had a short spell in Nnamdi Azikiwe University. And there was a day the lecturer told all of us to introduce ourselves. And as I introduced myself and I mentioned my name, the first thing he said was Ofe Manu. I understand the meaning of Ofe Manu, but I saw that this was a lecturer, it was a professor or a doctor of physics at the time. And he said that, and he didn't get to me because I understood that he was coming from his own level of intelligence or the amount of knowledge he had. But actually, I was new there. It is hard for you. Where I'm going is that it was hard for you to see anybody from any other part of the nation being there. But me being there had to make me want to learn the language a bit. So you grew up in Lagos. I'm talking of the person that sent you this message. You grew up in Lagos. You went to school in Ife, and you are proud to say, at the time, she must have been in her late teens or her early 20s. You could not understand the width of Yoruba. And see the hypocrisy in what she said. She said she understood the insults because they insulted her, but she did not understand the context. So the fact is that it is not that she did not want to hear, but she chose not to speak because they think it is beneath them. And if you are looking for cultures that are beneath, well, let's leave that there. Then I want to appreciate you because today is the first day I knew the meaning of Akata. And it should be something that Black Americans are proud of anyway. Thank you very much, Mr. Busui.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. It's been a minute. I've not seen you up here for a bit, but I'm glad you came up today. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Akata is a way of actually celebrating the Black Panther movement. I mean, I think it became something else much later, but to be honest, it had nothing to do with the slur that people are making it out to be right now. It's about Panther being Akata in Yoruba language. And someone asked earlier that I wrote it there, but I didn't say it up here. The person says, what is Ijakumo? Ijakumo is civet. It's also like, it's a wild cat. Yobani Ijakumo eride osan, eni abiri onride oru. So Ijakumo is also a wild cat, a civet. But yato si awon yoku. And I think one of the things that actually, I like about this whole thing is our fathers knew the difference between Akata, Ijakumo, between Akata and Giacomo, between Giacomo and Ekun and Amokteku and so on. They were able to name those things, which is quite nice, and it's it gives you this sense of identity, to be honest. And I'll tell you why. So when I was in uni, this is quite interesting because we're talking about somebody from my school. When I was in university, one day I was just thinking and I wrote it down. I remember I still have that note somewhere because I saw it about 2 years ago or last year. I saw it somewhere. I was writing about, how Oyinbo people, they name things. Say they have vitamins and then they have words for everything. They will say this one is vitamin A, this one is vitamin B, this one is folic acid, this one is this one and that. So I was saying, why don't we have that in Yoruba language? And of course, as you grow older, you discover that some of the words that you hear that Yoruba are speaking right now, what they also did, which is also what Yoruba people need to understand. I hear people saying things that we have to form words for everything. I don't think so. Or else, you spend more time trying to teach the new words than trying to teach the idea you're trying to actually communicate. It's not every word you hear in science that's actually English in origin. Much of it is Latin and Greek. Because when people say you have to look for words for lead, we have words for some of them, by the way, for gold, for bronze and stuff. We have to look for word for zinc, magnesium, everything, all the elements. You have to find Yoruba words for it. So the question is this: what do you really think you'll be doing in the chemistry class? You're going to be teaching the names of those things. For them, it's a word they use. For you, you're not going to start over you are creating a new problem. The point I'm trying to make is that it's not to make something yours. It doesn't mean that you have to start all over again. There are words that we can create, and we create, like we mentioned in the video, era more on television. And I was saying, and it's true, that even the word television, today it's English language, it's an English word. But if you go into its etymology, it's not English. It's even a combination of two different languages, Greek and Latin. Tele, meaning something far, away, and vision having to do with sight. So I can see this thing from far away. That's television. That's actually the meaning of the word. There's nothing deep about it. But what's really deep is that they were able to use languages that have nothing to do with their own indigenous language to form something for themselves, because they are used to those other languages having been in their space for centuries. The same way English has been in our space for centuries. That's why we don't have to say we're looking for a Yoruba word for butter. Could necessary. Or margarine. It's like I'm not going to be looking for a Yoruba word for pizza, for instance. It's Italian and it's fine. The same way I don't need an English word for akara. And which is another thing that some people do. They will tell you that moi moi is bean pudding and akara is bean cake. That's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. Moi moi is moi moi. Akara is akara. Just like pizza is pizza. Right? However, there's certain, so if I want to now use pizza, let's say we're having a conversation and I'm now looking for a way to reduce it to a Yoruba word, not to be able to, I'm just trying to make a point. I'm not trying to communicate at that point. That's the point I'm trying to make, you know. So I think that balance is, I think, what people should be more concerned about, and what you can do. So when people say, and I want to wrap up with this one, hopefully, when people say teach in Yoruba, I see what someone is writing in the comment section. It says Science Yoruba is working on a Yoruba dictionary. He's working on another Yoruba dictionary. We've had Yoruba dictionaries for centuries, for more than 100 years. This is not the first one. I mean, if he does another one, that would be very nice. I mean, it's good to keep building and keep creating new stuff. So, and of course, acknowledging new words are being used. So that's brilliant. But let's be careful not to assume that we don't have anything, because it's also something we may be doing by assuming that we have no dictionary. Somebody's about to give us one. We have several different types, and the first one was written by Samajaye Crowther. And interestingly, I actually have it somewhere. I'll see if I can find it while I'm talking. But, you know, the point is, words evolve. There are new words that we're using, and that's okay. But I think the what's the word now? The job right now is to make sure that we don't lose our words, the one we have. As people create, they should create. But it's also important to understand when people are speaking about using Yoruba to teach. It doesn't mean that every single word that's foreign or every single foreign object has to have a Yoruba word. I think that is a luxury that the young cannot afford. That's something for folks in uni. If, for instance, and you know, the other funny thing is that a lot of us, we think we are making words, but we may need to also consult people who have not had too much English distort the Yoruba they speak. Perhaps there's certain things that we're looking for that they still have, so that we don't demand. We don't have words for all elements. So we have words for some. We don't have words for all. We don't have for, you know what? Let's do this 1 second. Let's do this exercise. I acknowledge that we have gold, we have bronze. I mentioned it. Okay, I said those elements we have. Okay, all those elements we have. Yes. No, of course. Oh no, we're not totally like we are Mongakan. Well, we're also waiting for him. But no, I agree with you. Of course. Emi Ojo is sulfur. What did you write here? You wrote Emi. Maybe it's a typo. So Emi Ojo. We have Baba. There's Baba, there's Oje, there's it there. There's Wura. Interestingly, Fadaka, I think that one was loaned. I think we borrowed that. Which is not Yoruba word anyway. And yes, Emi Ojo is sulfur. Con. No, con is potash. Potash is not potassium. Con is potash. You know, well, for those in science, you can come and explain to us. But if I find what I'm looking for, I'll let you know. But you are correct. To be clear, you are very correct that we have a lot of these things in Yoruba language, you know, already, which is true. But who knows? I mean, even if potassium is different from potassium, you can also call it you can call it potassium. What I'm just saying, let me just summarize the whole thing. What I'm saying is that I think the goal is actually to teach the kids in Yoruba language, and I think there are two things happening at the same time, and people may be making a mistake. I want to quickly just talk about it. It's one thing to teach people in Yoruba; it's another thing to teach Yoruba. And if we don't understand that balance, we may actually be creating more work for the kids. And I'll explain. To teach in Yoruba is not to teach Yoruba language. Is that the language of instruction is Yoruba. That means that you're teaching physics in Yoruba language, you're teaching chemistry in Yoruba language, you're teaching mathematics in Yoruba language. Yoruba becomes a language of instruction. And for many people, my mother's generation, for instance, I think even my brother's generation, the older ones, because in our house we have 2 sets or 3. I belong to the younger set. The older ones, Yoruba don't call one, right? Even the English language, you use Yoruba to teach English language, and it works, So Yoruba becoming language of instruction, I think, is actually what we've been talking about it for a long time, and we have something to prove, right? How do I put it now? Something to back up, a research has been carried out to back up the claims about indigenous languages being the best form of, or being the best languages of instruction. And we've mentioned this several times. In the 1970s, Professor Babatunde Fafunwa conducted a research in Ife, University of Ife, where they had kids broken into 2 in a class, and then one half of the class was taught in English language, the other one in Yoruba language. So everything one for Yoruba come, and everything one for English come. Out of Yoruba code, they did better than those who were taught in English language. And the reason is simple: if you teach a kid who speaks Yoruba as his mother as a first language, if you teach that kid in English language, you're giving him 2 jobs. If you teach him in Yoruba language, giving the person 1 job. If you teach them in the language of in their first language or their mother tongue, what you're doing is they only have a job, and that job is to understand what you are teaching them. If you teach them in English language, they have 2 jobs. Number one, they have to first understand what you are teaching them in their language before they now understand the exact stuff you're teaching, because they don't even understand the English you're speaking. All right. So I think that that's the work. The work is to actually use Yoruba as a medium of instruction for kids. When it comes to the many words that people are creating, that is actually teaching Yoruba language, not using Yoruba as a language of instruction. And that's another thing entirely. That's why people actually go to school to study Yoruba language, just as they go to school to study French or German or Russian. A lot of things that people are talking, and I saw some things people wrote earlier, and it's true, it's important, but it's not actually what I am pushing for in the educational sector, for instance, because some of those words are new. You first spend time learning those ones as well. Our own says I was one of those kids taught in Yoruba. Oh, really? So you're probably I think my age mates also were taught in that thing, but my parents did not take us to the schools my brothers went to. We went to private schools. But I used to go to, my mom was a teacher, so even though I was in private school, Tabati Bolide or Tabati Midtime, I go to my mother's school. They spoke Yoruba, and I'm glad I actually experienced that as well. Many of us still met in university and go. Which is not bad. Some people are just not given to a way, but generally speaking, it actually works out better when people are taught in language they understand. But to be honest, also, there are folks who are born in Yoruba land whose first language is English language, and that was the truth as well. But for me, I'll say this, just an advice. I think you can have both. Children can speak up to 6 languages and not feel confused. Some research, some findings say 8 languages. I haven't seen 116, but I've only seen it in one study, so I can't use it. But I've seen a lot of 6 and 8 languages that kids can speak at the same time without feeling confused. So your children speaking Yoruba, English, French, German, as many as Chinese, Mandarin, as many as possible. It doesn't confuse them. So also to say that, sometimes we go to the extreme. No, Yoruba ni kan ni o. Ori omode le gba ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èdè. the children can learn, kids can learn as many languages as possible. Let them explore, but make sure that they speak Yoruba. So that way they are grounded locally and they also understand stuff globally. Our own says you speak 5 languages. Respect to you. Well done, sir. All right, I think we have some people who want to come up. We still have some time, so I'm going to bring a couple of people up. All right. Good evening, Share West. Ẹkáàbọ.
Hello, Prof. Ọjọ́ kan pẹ́. Akúnwà bí akànwà ní low-key ni.
I noticed.
Well done, sir. And,
yes, sir.
Well done. May God keep blessing and protecting you for us. Thank you.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
I'm actually going to speak about Yoruba issue as well. I watched this Ashake YouTube today. Where this girl, Koti, interviewed him. And yes. And Ashake did everything in Yoruba. Prof, do you know that I watched it with my mom and we both enjoyed it? You know, it's actually bind us, and she was like, among all these musicians, Ashake me like you. That was what she was just saying. Ashake me like you. When you come to relate, I was like, nice, nice one. Relate more nice, not just Ashake long by. She was like, I just like Ashake, you know, this is. So she was like talking about when they were all together with his parents in Ireland and everything. So, as in that interview in Yoruba, I think it's something our musicians should be doing. It's something they should be doing. Even the young one among our children, they will want to learn Yoruba because of what Ashake did. You know, that's one of the ways to promote your language, honestly. Yeah. So, got to more converse on here. Yeah,
Thank you very much. Yeah, a shameless plug. You guys should listen to Court's interview. I saw it earlier today as well. It was brilliant. And I like the way Ashake, spoke throughout the interview. He, of course, always could mix, always could switch, but generally speaking, he did more Yoruba. I mean, it was largely Yoruba, and he did it intentionally. It's good. It's good. And also, let's speak Yoruba to our children at home. They'll learn English outside and French and others, but let's speak Yoruba to them at home. It's very important. Thank you very much, Sherry West, for that. Someone says, Lagwaja. Oh yes, Lagwaja too. Lagwaja also. I mean, the thing is, Nigeria has an official language, which is English language. I'll speak it until I don't want to. And if I come to your place, I will have to, speak English to you. If you come to my space, I'll speak English to you. But if I speak Yoruba to you, also learn how to understand. If you don't understand, that's your business. The point is that most of the works that we've done, as a matter of fact, as Yoruba people, has actually been in Yoruba language. Most of our musicians, we have musicians who sing in English language, of course, but we have a lot in Yoruba. And people don't know how important this thing is. Yoruba is a world language. I'm not saying that as, let me tell you, Fabu. It's a fact. Okay, you find it in firms in the UK, you find it in hospitals in the US, you find it in banks in the UK and in Canada as well. Even in I think is it Kuwait or Dubai, one of those places. It's an international language. Don't lose it because you're trying to be Nigerian. Be Nigerian, probably Yoruba, and those. By the way, some people just like folks to dim their lights to make them feel comfortable. If you want to live in the dark, stay there forever. That's your business. I have a point to prove by shining my light. And what same people do really is that when you see some people shining their light, you also shine yours. You trim your own light and make sure that people can see what you have. Not to say, dim it. I want to feel comfortable. So let's speak our language. Let's celebrate it, right? And there's nothing ras about Yoruba language. It's a beautiful language. It's musical. It's deep. And you understand that. Even as a Christian, sometimes you listen to Tokalabi and she just says some things that are quite deep. And there's certain things that you're like, cotton soil. And it by me, no, tell tẹ́ bá wo wádìí nǹkan tó ń sọ ẹ máa mọ̀ kó wọ́n ronú jinlẹ̀ láti pòwe yẹn. You know, it's not only English language that has all these things. Yoruba, that's why when you study Yoruba as a language on its own, and you hear about this, Isunki, Aromokpe, all those things that they always say, but you win you, Abi, LYD, all those things you see in English language. If you ever did poetry or you like spoken word, one of the beautiful things I like about it is when I use Yoruba is I discover that, man, everything here is also here, right? You know, whether it's similes and metaphors and whatever it is they're trying to do with English language, they've been doing it in Yoruba language before they even knew Oyinbo existed. So why should I jettison that because of Nigeria? And because I want to make other people feel comfortable. I'll speak English language to make you feel comfortable to the point where I want to feel comfortable. And I'm more comfortable speaking Yoruba. If you don't understand it, it gets subtitles. Koboko says, did you notice that official name for Osun State doesn't use the anglicized spelling? Yes, it's intentional. So it's not anglicized, to be honest. We also evolved. So when we started, you know, because we also have to, I get your point, Sha. So when we started out, a lot of words, Tonishi sound, we use S and H. Orthography also evolved. You know, it's not anglicized. It's actually, we're the ones that also created that Oshun. So you see some people still using showing kind of say SH. Sorry. You see a lot of people don't say I'm like show Wale one lo SH, show me SH. But people like Wale Shoyinka, they reverted to she being S Tonyonidi. But even though English, but the problem is that English does not have that general, not even just English, to be honest, even the S is not English, it's Latin. That's the funny thing about this whole thing. Okay, let me explain it this way. The ABCD, right, that we all use in English language is actually not English. It's Latin script. And that's why you see that Latin script in French, you see it in English, you see it in Spanish, you see it in Portuguese. It's a script. We adopted that same thing. It's not actually owned by the British or the English. Right, it's actually Latin script. So we also now have Latin script as RBD, but okay, let me explain this way. A lot of how do you put it now? When you typed back in the day, there's no way to your S nidi, and I'm saying that I don't know how to say essentially creating, adding an accent, like putting it under it. It doesn't exist like you have in French, you know, under C in some French words. So I'll give an example. My mentor, his dad did his PhD in the 60s. One day I went to greet my mentor, and then he said, let me even show you my dad's thesis, his PhD thesis. It was done in England. And he explained to me how the father did it, because he had to do with the father. Interestingly, the father that they were talking about was a reverend. That's why when we were talking yesterday, we were saying, oh, Christianity and Islam, like, you that are not a Christian, God said, do you know about this thing, like those of us who are Christians? I think people just hide under all these things. I'm not saying that, you know, people don't demonize, you know, traditional stuff, but I think both people that are demonizing it and those who are spiritualizing it are both ignorant. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that the man was a reverend, and he did his PhD, and it had to do with Ifa in the 60s, and at least I think it was late 60s, 70s, thereabout. Anyway, so he was explaining to me how his father was able to pull that off. That omative kogbeton abesi for 1 year. Sure you are. I'm a for 1 year lórí plate. On shall reprint on shall agbejade as Omani so what on ṣe pẹ̀lú àmì. You know, I take off in konyon abekini. That's why you notice that old Yoruba Bibles it's different now. On my phone, I even prefer using my phone than laptop, to be honest, because on the phone it's easier with Google Keyboard Yoruba to use Ami. But back then, on my for work she lara on commercial lithography on my for work she lara plate, you know, how imagine doing that for all the pages of the book. So people who didn't want to go through that stress, number one, will not put a meal lórí ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn. And so you read some of the books from in the Igba, you don't know whether the person is saying Ojo or Ojo because there's no army on it. Then if it has to do with she, instead of my yon sale, I can feel segbe ni akon pe wo o ti fún wa ní sound the she, you know. But back to what you were saying, Osun State also, of course, decided to just stick to the she as Orotonyon. What's character in Yoruba? The S character alphabet here, one can yon sale ni because we want to H konkun. So yeah, Osun is O, she, U, ni. Ben, Eshon. All of that to just answer that simple thing you said. But thank you very much for your understanding and allowing me to speak my Turinchi. Where were we? Are we good? Does anybody want to speak? Somebody sent their request earlier. I don't know if that's still here. Yeah, it was Bumblebee. Bumblebee, are you still there?
Prof, I'm here.
My brother, Ẹkáàbọ.
Ẹkọlẹ.
Yes, sir.
So let me just go to my submission. You know, so there's a difference between being a victim and having a victim mentality. So when you have a victim mentality, when you are a victim, you can't get out of what you're suffering from by your own help. When you have a victim mentality, is a situation where you can actually take yourself out of where you are, but you just want to stay there and, you know, make people feel sorry for you. You have an option. If you know you can't speak the language, either you learn the language or you go where you are comfortable, where they are not speaking the language. So it's you to one learning here. And one of the reasons I like the likes of Nice, the likes of Ashake is there are things that if you can't find the lyrics for it and you just say Yoruba proverb, your listeners can easily just tune into it and understand where you are getting to. So when you are listening to someone like Nice, it keeps going on and on. And when you listen to people like Ashake, that's why sometimes but when you are in rhythm, when you are in sync and you're just speaking the language, your listeners are just there. And when the rap is going on in Yoruba language, you're like, oh, this thing is good. So sometimes when you listen to some of Nice's song, it's quite unfortunate that we didn't have Afrobeat in the Afrobeat category in the Grammys. I'm sure that guy could have picked one or two. So for the people that keep complaining about it, I mean, you go to France, you go to Germany, basic communication is the minimum requirement. In fact, before you go there, when you get to the embassy or something, they will try and test you that, okay, can you speak? Well, that's the essence of IELTS when you're going to countries like Canada and the rest. So I think one of the things that people need to do, and another thing, I've never seen a thief person. I have a couple of thief friends, I have Idoma friends, I have people from the north. I don't know one northerner that can speak Hausa, whether from the middle belt or upwards all the way to the corner. I don't know one that can speak Hausa. So it just comes down to people that lack, you know, proper etiquette, and they have a victim mentality. They're not victims, they just have a victim mentality. Or maybe they just take a pity party. And that's what I see. I mean, when we're in Ife now, people say all those department office, oh, even if you as a Yoruba, we talk about women that don't mind go back. Go back to the door and knock properly and greet and say good morning. You will be required to act accordingly like a well-cultured person. So if somebody is
absolutely for learning and culture,
exactly. So it's not on the people that are speaking; it's on you that refuse to learn the minimum requirement for basic communication. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very, very, very much. I really appreciate it. You know, you're very. I mentioned it earlier. You go to that school there. Oh yeah. And the funny thing is that it's not that they don't understand Yoruba. Sorry, it's not that they don't understand English language. They're just more comfortable. And by the way, this if a person comes from is different, is the culture of to create a let us all be one together. No, that's how you lose what's yours. That's how you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And it's important for us to, again, I think it's not about balance, and it's also very telling that it be like say it's only one group in Nigeria that tends to go around telling people what language they should speak in their own land. And that's telling. And they only do it to one group. And now there's a reason. Maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow. I think I'll talk more about Amaka's stuff tomorrow. I want to use Amaka's skinny as a point of contact to explain why folks feel that entitled to demand stuff. It has something to do with their experience in the South. Please remind me tomorrow. I'm going to write it down somewhere. I'm going to write it down. It's because of the experience in the South. And that feeling, let me write it more. Because you discover that you don't hear this from other people in Yoruba land. Right? The thing is that whenever they moved out and they became a majority in a particular place, they found a way to get the locals to speak their own language. And here's the crazy part. I'm going to talk about this. I'd like to go deep because I want to read some books on this matter. It got to a point that some of those people began to lose their own indigenous languages because they were all adopting Igbo language. This is I'm not making anything up, but I'll explain tomorrow. I'll read you. I'm going to tell you right now. If you read the book by Amadi, it's there. So I'm going to mention that tomorrow. If you read Lechi Amadi's book, he mentioned it. People are used. I think they assume that that's how you should be. You just go to a particular place and you have to do what you like. No, it's not going to be like that. Folks shouldn't have to lose their stuff because you are present, especially when it's not as if you are bringing anything superior where they are. It's quite. I mean, it's crazy. We have one more person who wants to come up. March 19. Good evening. Hello, are you there? I don't know if the person is there, but I've accepted your request, but I can't hear you speak. Okay, maybe it's the network. Everybody, thank you very much. So tomorrow we'll talk about that before we get into other conversation. Somewhere along the line, I will talk about it. Why there's this sense of entitlement, like you've got to make me feel comfortable. Like, no. And that's how you treat, is the way you treat children who don't know their place, or people who don't know their place. You have to make them understand that you're raw. This is not how to do things. If you don't put your foot down and you allow the person a food, they're going to take him out. Before you know it, they're taking the entire space. All right. Thank you very much for listening. We're going to call it a day now. We'll be here tomorrow, 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. And we'll be having a great session together. Okay. Thank you very much for being here. These videos are on YouTube. Busui Oris. One second. Yeah, Busuri's YouTube channel. So if you want to, listen to any of the things we're talking about, feel free to check our YouTube account. Kindly subscribe. We have some things that we're working on. Maybe in the next few months, they should be ready and I'll be able to push those things out. The manner says the Igbos are intentional when they refuse to speak Yoruba. They want to play South here in the West. Yeah, but that's the question. Why would you do that? It's a blessing, isn't it? If you learn another language, it's a blessing. You know how to speak more than one. If you go another place, you learn another one. But if you don't want to learn, that's okay. You don't have to learn. Just don't tell me what to say. Especially if I'm still in my land. I didn't come to meet you in your place. You can't tell me how to conduct myself in my land. I think that's fair. I'll do what I can to make you feel comfortable, but guess what? At some point, I also want to be comfortable, and I have a right to my own comfort. And what makes me comfortable is speaking in my own language. And if you have a problem with that, you can literally just fly back where you came from, or don't talk to me. I don't know, why do people really think they can do that thing when they tell people, this is how you should speak? Who are you? It's funny, eh? Very funny. And so that it's the mindset. So it's a mindset of a person who wants to, somebody wrote in the comment section, it's a conquest mindset. Yes. So it comes in two ways. It comes in the way of the person who can conquer, but if he can't conquer, he's not going to bicker about it. It's just going to make it work. You will speak the language they want you to speak. But for those who know they cannot conquer, no matter how much they try, they then use this other approach where they're trying to gaslight you, even though they can't conquer you. So gaslighting is their tool for conquest, essentially. And what does that do for you? You have a lot of young people who cannot speak Yoruba language, but feel very comfortable speaking to folks from other places who interestingly can speak their own mother tongue, but these ones cannot speak because they're trying to be detribalized. And then the ones they're trying to please can speak their own mother tongue. And when the time is right, they will speak in their own mother tongue. And then the clown as Yoruba, who is doing detribalization, feels that he has been betrayed. It's crazy. So you just be crazy. Why you not doing like this to me now? Why are you not making me feel to have to go and learn your language not to understand? It's not just English language. It's not Yoruba. People learn Yoruba. People travel from different countries to learn Yoruba in Nigeria. Yoruba is being taught in universities across the world. People are using the language. I am a native speaker. I shouldn't lose it because of you. You are not worth that much. All right, may God bless everybody. Let's have the national anthem and also the Yoruba anthem, and we'll call it a day. We'll be here again. We'll be here tomorrow, 4 p.m. If your time was African time. If you join us for the first time, we have the sessions every weekday, Mondays to Fridays. So we will be having a session on Friday at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. Here is the Nigerian anthem. And after this, I'll play the Yoruba anthem. Enjoy and sing along. Thank you.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be your sin. Justice reign in peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hand unto our children a banner without name. All of all creation, grant this our one request, to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Nigeria may be blessed.
Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀, ìmọ́lẹ̀ wọ̀ ní wọ́ọ̀kùn lágbára Ọlọ́run. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ò ní bàjẹ́, Nàìjíríà náà ò ní bàjẹ́. Gbogbo tó bá dáwọ́ lẹ́ máa yọrí sí rere ní lágbára Ọlọ́run. May God bless you and keep you, and may you have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for being part of this session. I'll see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. Do have a lovely evening and have a great night. Some of you are still having in the afternoon, Abby. Yeah, have a wonderful day and have a great night to those who are in the evening. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Odaro.